Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our flower communion, flower ceremony Sunday, celebrating our congregational community and, of course, our congregation's annual meeting after our service this morning. That will be followed by, after the service, of course, we have a wonderful lunch and then the annual meeting. We want to welcome those who may be visiting with us for the first time. Do we have any first-time visitors with us out there this morning? We do. Welcome. Could I ask you to stand and we can welcome you? Welcome. Welcome. So great to have you with us. Thanks for taking that long trip up the driveway to find you knew not what. We hope you're finding a warm welcome. I told you that I would keep you apprised of developments of my future after I leave here on August 15th, and I have been hired as the development minister for the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist congregation in Stuart, Florida, starting on October 1st, and I'll be working part-time with them. They had, through a bequest given to them by some of their members, they are building a new building and will be occupying it in the fall. And so that will be an exciting time to be joining that congregation. But I'm here till August 15th for full service ministry, so don't forget it. Please note all the announcements and the many announcements in our order of service. That gives you an idea of all the wonderful things that are happening as our congregational year winds up. However, we go through the whole summer, and there are many, many activities available to you during that period of time. Now, I want to welcome to the platform a number of folks. Mary Noble, who's the chair of the subcommittee of the Music Scholarship Committee of the Music Committee, to Audrey Murphy, who's chair of our Music Committee, and Arnold Babel, who's president of our congregation, along with Susan Weber, who's the scholarship chairperson of the Nassau Music Educators Association, for the presentation of this year's Edward Miller Memorial Music Scholarships.
Thank you, Paul. The Edward Miller Memorial Music Scholarship was founded by your Music Committee in 2004. So far, we have given $20,000 in prize money to 18 deserving music students graduating from several different high schools in Nassau County. Funding comes from you, the members of this congregation. Thank you for your generous contributions, and I hope to see you at our next fundraising event, the Cabaret at Shelter Rock. Pencil in Saturday, November 5th. A big thank you to all those who make the scholarship possible, most notably our Cabaret Music Director, Richard Bach, Music Committee Chair, Audrey Murphy, and other members of our Music Committee, and your Music Director, Stephen Michael Smith. And a special thank you to Susan Weber here. Susan is the chair of the Scholarship Committee of the Nassau Music Educators Association. Susan and her group have worked with us from the very beginning, reading and evaluating scholarship applications and choosing from among them each year's recipients. This year, due to your generosity, we are able to offer 2 scholarships, each worth $1,500. Samantha Philippone, could you please come up? Samantha is graduating from Glen Cove High School this year and will be enrolling in Hofstra University's Honors College in the fall. She sings soprano with Glen Cove's regular chorus, while at the same time leading the altos during bi-monthly sectional rehearsals. As a member of the select chorale, she performed at St. Peter's Basilica before Pope Francis. She has performed in Nassau Music Educators Association's All-County Chorus in 2014 and 15. Samantha is also an instrumentalist. She played baritone and wind ensemble, trumpet and jazz band, and cymbals and percussion ensemble. She served as conductor of another Sewanaka group, the Pep Band. Samantha is a member of the Triumph Music Honors Society and the National Honors Society and president of the School Drama Club. Kiana. This is Kiana Kerr. She's graduating from Sewanaka High School in Floral Park and bound for the University of Southern California this fall. Concertmaster of her high school orchestra, Kiana is a member of the Triumph Music Honor Society, the National Honor Society, the Science National Honor Society, Sewanaka String Ensemble, and All District Festival Orchestra. She has participated in Nassau Music Educators Association's All-County Orchestra, the Long Island Youth Orchestra, and the Long Island String Festival. Kiana received the St. Michael's College Book Award. Samantha and Kiana, best of luck in your future endeavors. We wish you all the best. Please stay in touch. We always need musicians.
Well, congratulations to our scholarship winners and to the congregation for providing the resources. And now, as is our custom, just take a moment or two to greet those seated near to you, maybe saying hello to someone you haven't met before. Good to see you.
opening words are from the poet Galway Kinnell, adapted a bit for this occasion. The bud stands for all things, even those things that don't flower. For everything flowers from within, of self-blessing. Though sometimes it is necessary to reteach a thing its own loveliness and retell it in words and in touch. It is lovely until it flowers again from within, of self-blessing. We will now light our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, in celebration of the flower which is blooming within each of us. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 64. Oh, give us pleasure in the flowers today. Standing and recite the words of affirmation which are in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need. This we do affirm and covenant with each other.
We all grow from this place. Like flowers, perhaps we come here as buds, Maybe we flower, maybe we're still waiting to flower. We all grow from this place, and we all give to this place in many different ways. Some give of time, talent, and of treasure. And so each week, in recognition of all that we give to this place and all that we get from this place, we hold an offering for the support of this congregation and its programs. The offering will now be generously given and received.
invite you to enter now into a time of meditation. In a moment, I'd like to share with you the words of Robert Weston for our meditation. But before we do, I invite you to take a deep breath, to be here in this quiet space together. Close your eyes if you like, or not. Find a comfortable spot in that pew. And take in the quietness. Take in the sounds of life all around you. Young, babbling life. The stiff groans of the not so young. We each come into this sanctuary today bringing with us so very much. Our lives are so full. Delight perhaps at the lengthening of days, even with the rain and humidity, that the weather's warmer. We've shed our winter coats, feeling more free. We come, some of us, with heavy hearts. Our congregation has experienced so many losses in the last month. Each of us comes with joys and yearnings and hopes and sorrows and fears. For a moment, let's just hold each other, knowing that we don't really know ever what's happening in the heart of another. Let us be for each other in this time. Emergent Life by Robert Weston. I am amazed and all but mute with awe that on this cinder, hurtling around the sun, a living thing arose to clothe the earth. That all this splendor of the leaf and flower, life in the sea and on the earth, from crawling thing to singing bird and humankind, all fruit of the same life, continually renewed through cell and seed and birth. In spite of winter's storms that sweep the earth, this miracle of shared and sharing life arose and still evolving, still goes on. Here on this whirling ball, warmed by the sun, through countless deaths and many million forms, life bore its varied cells. And there are those from which the coral grew, and the fish, and the insects, and the nesting birds, all played their varied parts through which a widening community spread across the earth. Thus, as through us, the same life flows through all, making us debtor and creditor, brother and sister, each of all, each as the grass springing from common earth, adding to others and receiving as well, and all of us, seed, plant, and flower, and seed, unroot through love and the awakening mind to what we cannot guess.
thank you, choir, for that most appropriate song on this day. And Evan, thank you for that wonderful offertory. I imagine the flowers in the breeze, in the rain. Evan's going to be leaving us this summer. We're all sad about that, but to go to Cleveland, as I understand it, to be with your mother, who's aging. But we appreciate your ministry over these many years to us. In 1870, Norbert Čapek was born in either what is now the Czech Republic or Slovakia. And he grew up in a Roman Catholic home, but when he became a young man, he converted to the Baptist faith and became a quite successful minister and a district superintendent. But his political views did not jibe with the government. And one day, a friendly police officer knocked on his door and said, "You better leave the country because you are slated for arrest." And so he came to this country and became a Baptist minister in the New York City area among his countrymen. However, he became more and more liberal in his theology, and he was brought up on heresy charges by fellow Baptist clergy. But after a while, he thought, well, maybe this is no longer for me. And his wife had died shortly after he came here, and he married again, a woman that he had met at the New York Public Library where he was doing research. She was head of the Slovak collection there. And she, then when they had a merged family, she needed, she felt, for their family to find a place for religious education for their kids. And they found the Unitarian Church in East Orange, New Jersey. So that's how he got a connection with Unitarianism, as many people do, a place for their kids to get a religious education. He was then introduced to Samuel May Eliot, who was president of the American Unitarian Association, and the suggestion came that now, after the First World War, where Czechoslovakia would be a united country that had independence, that would the American Unitarian Association sponsor Čapek and his wife to go back to start a Unitarian congregation in Prague. Well, the denomination agreed, and they sent him over there, and I believe in 1921. They held their first public service in 1922, and before long, it was a going concern. Over the next several years, they became the largest Unitarian congregation in the world, with 3,200 members. And they established satellite congregations outside of Prague of an additional 5,000 people. So we're over 8,000 Unitarians in Czechoslovakia. Now, his congregation was made up of those coming from Protestant faith and the Roman Catholic faith and the Jewish faith. And so it was very difficult for any sort of traditional communion service to be held because Protestants, Roman Catholics have very different views of this, as do Jews, of course. So what you're going to do to have a ceremony celebrating your religious community and your core commitments? And he thought, the idea came to him. Let's have the last Sunday of their congregational year before their summer recess a flower communion where everyone brings a flower representing their own personality, their own devotion, their own religious commitment. Put them together to represent our whole congregation. And then at the end of the service, then consecrate the flowers to our highest ideals. And then at the end of the service, each one takes a flower other than they had brought to show that we give and we receive in religious community. And so it became a tradition every year. It was brought over to this country by his wife Maya when she came here in 1939 and introduced it at the Cambridge Massachusetts congregation for the first time, and it caught on. And many, if not all, many, a high percentage of our Unitarian Universalist congregations across the continent have a flower communion or flower ceremony at some time during the spring. It's even gone to be very much used by the International Association for Religious Freedom, and I took part in a flower ceremony, as did many members of this congregation, in 1984 at the Great Hall of the Rishikosekai Buddhist faith in Tokyo, where people from many different religious traditions celebrated a flower communion. But I think it's an apt demonstration of what religious community is all about. The flowers differ and so much, and the genius of Unitarian Universalism is that we have such diversity theologically and philosophically. You know, I've known UUs who are theists, deists, secular humanists, religious humanists, process theologians, holding to process theology, a different form of theism, existentialism, atheists, agnostics, all sorts of hyphenated Unitarian Universalists, Jewish Unitarian Universalists, Christian Unitarian Universalists, Buddhist Unitarian Universalists, Hindu Unitarian Universalists, Muslim, across the board. And when I first came into our religious movement, I thought, how can this be that people with so much diversity can find religious community? Well, I'm still asking that question. But it's like the farmer was asked, do you believe in baptism? He says, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. Religious community with people with core commitments to our purposes and principles, but that find their way to those through very many different traditions. And I think it's so wonderful. It also, of course, is expressive of the fact that we give and receive from the many different talents that we have in this congregation. And they are so many, and they're so diverse, and they are so deep. When you think of our last congregational year, all the ways that people have contributed their talent and their time and their resources to this community, it really is amazing and so wonderfully captured by these beautiful flowers in front of me this morning. You know, I always look forward to visiting that congregation in Prague, and finally had the opportunity in 1997 when, with my Princeton congregation, we planned a trip to Eastern Europe where we visited the the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, and the Unitarian Congregation in Budapest, and then on to Romania for our congregations in Transylvania. But when we were in Prague, I was often told, well, the Unitarian Universalist congregation is located at the foot of the Charles Bridge. So we were looking for it at the foot of the Charles Bridge. It wasn't quite at the foot of the Charles Bridge, but it was very, very close. The Charles Bridge, of course, is that historic bridge that was built by Charles IV, who was emperor of the Holy Roman Empire in the 14th century. My history professor, Dr. Voss, said it was not holy, it was not Roman, and it was not an empire, but that's what it was called anyway. But there was a need to connect the old and the new cities of Prague. And so Emperor Charles IV determined he was going to build this bridge. Now, I'm going to throw this in at no extra charge this morning, but there's one way that you can impress people, friends, neighbors, countrymen, in a very special way. You can say, and I'll tell you how you can do this. You can talk about this wonderful bridge, which now is just a pedestrian bridge and has 30 statues all the way across it as it goes across the Tava River. But that was begun, the work on that was begun on July 9th, 1357 at 5:31 in the morning. Do you think you can remember that? I'll tell you how. Charles was a believer in numerology and having symmetry. in numbers, that somehow if it was a symmetrical numerical scheme, it would be a stronger bridge. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 7, 5, 3, 1. Of course, in European notation, the day of the month comes first, and then the month. So you can always say July 9th, 1357 at 5:31 in the morning. Won't you be impressive? So if you remember nothing else about my ministry here at Shelter Rock, I've shared with you a way that you can amaze your friends. You know, another aspect of this that I think is so interesting to me is that the American Unitarian Association had the resources not only to send them over and support them while they started this congregation, but to help them buy that building, which they still have to this very day. And I visited it in 1997. Just knocked, rang on the doorbell, and the minister came down and showed me around the whole place and showed me up to Chopek's office and where they were holding their services. And that was there because our denomination had the resources provided by Unitarians at that time to be able to do that. That's a wonderful, wonderful outreach of our denomination. Of course, it's able to have outreach in so many wonderful ways because it is supported by UUs. We have a wonderful opportunity today at our annual meeting to establish something that will leverage our gift 10 times, where we can provide $50 million in the future for Unitarian Universalism. The way it works is that we set up a match of $4.5 million that will be paid out in 2020. And those who name their local congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Association, or any Unitarian Universalist organization in their will, or establish a charitable lead trust, or a charitable remainder trust, or life insurance, or appreciated property, any way they do this and make that pledge, from that $4.5 million will be given a 10% gift to the organization that is so named. So $4.45 million plus the $4.5 million almost equals $50 million that we can give to assure the continuation of Unitarian Universalism into the future. I really hope we do that. I think it's doable, and I think it's a legacy that will be remembered for a long, long time and pay dividends forever and ever and ever. You know, Accenture consulting firm says that in the coming decades, over $30 trillion of money will go from one generation to the next, from the baby boomers. Let's help a portion of that to go to our faith and its furtherance, so that down the road we can do such a thing as the American Unitarian Association did back in 1921. So today we celebrate our wonderful congregational community. And you know, it's not, it's broken down into so many sub-communities that we're part of, as well as a larger body. Think of all the ways we've associated and we've learned from each other, and we've gained from each other, and we've drawn inspiration from each other through all of the different groups that we're part of in this congregation. I don't even want to start to name them because I'll leave someone out, some group out. But let's cherish that, our faith and our association. So during the flower communion, after we're led in the consecration of the flowers, which is using the words of Norbert Chopek, we'll be led by Oscar. We invite you to come forward and take a flower other than the one you brought. And if you didn't bring one, we have plenty of flowers. Our flower people here, Katie and Paula, have assured us that we've got a whole bunch there, and we've got some more here. So there's a flower for everyone. So be sure to. Now, if you come to one of these that has several flowers on one, don't take the whole thing. maybe break it off, unless you're among the last persons to take one. We might have enough then. So let's partake in the flower communion with celebrative commitment to who and what we are and who we can continue to become in the future. So may it be.
So before we say these words of consecration, I want to take a moment to say a few words about consecration. Consecration is to make sacred, the word. And I think it's important that we pause for a moment and remember that in our tradition, consecration is not an individual act. These flowers are not sacred because a minister puts his or her hands on them and says they're sacred. They're sacred because we as a community choose to make them so. This community that we form together, to me, is holy. And so together, as we say these words, we take the holiness of our community and we place them with these flowers. And so as we say these words of consecration, remember that it is an act of all of us. And as you take a flower later, remember that that single flower is a sign of your individuality in this community, but also of the sacredness of the whole community that's blessed it. So the words that have been written now, nearly 100 years these have been said, are printed in our order of service. I'll say the words in italics, and if you'll say the words in bold. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these messengers of friendship and love. May you remind us in the diversities of knowledge and gifts to be one in desire and affection and devotion. May they also remind us of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of the most precious gifts. May we realize that whatever we do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed. May we be strengthened by the knowledge that one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us, and may we endeavor together for a more joyful life for all.
So we'll sing the hymns as listed in the order of service. The choir will lead us in that. And as you're coming forward to get your flower, of course, you don't need to bring your hymn book along with you and sing during the whole time because the choir will be carrying us all. But come forward through the center aisle and return by the side aisles. But we start with De Coloris.
Amen.
So that you can keep your cut flower fresh during the congregational meeting, we will have vases with water in them. Good luck getting your flower back, though. But you can try. Flowers unfold slowly and gently, bit by bit in the sunshine. A soul, too, must never be pushed or driven. A soul unfolds in its own perfect timing to reveal its true wonder and beauty. Our work, the work of the religious community, is to be gardeners of souls. Everywhere seeds are beginning to germinate, let us tend them with greatest care. They are very tender and delicate. Let us water them with love. Until we meet again.